whether, in our best moments or worst moments or sober moments or not, my phone's been ringing a lot this year. And I've been having really real conversations with people, and that's part of the therapy that we're all needing, and it's a new kind of connectedness that we're all needing.
I completely agree. But being a millennial, I will still text. But I'm not afraid to dial my phone. I really am not. Doing the podcast, I call people and I'm just like, yeah, I'll give you a call or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not at the Snapchat level. I don't get texting through Snapchat. What's the point? Send me a text message. Don't Snapchat me.
Yeah.
What? Whatever. Everybody to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 424. Wonderful episode today. Very awesome guest, as always, because every guest I have on is amazing and awesome. But, of course, for the past couple of months, I would say, a lot more than a couple months. But the message of the podcast, nonetheless, what I've been saying for a while is be kind and courteous to others, all right? We share this planet. Have respect for our fellow brothers and sisters, because we all share this planet. We're all human. We all bleed. So... But you know what the best way to show respect towards our brothers and sisters are? Maybe if there's a deadly virus out in the world, and you're afraid, and you have to go out in the world, and you're afraid to do so, wear a mask so that you're not only are you protecting yourself, but also your risk of transmitting this deadly virus goes lower. But of course, if you have the virus, stay at home. But again, wear a damn mask. That's what I'm trying to say, all right? So respect each other, treat people like humans, and wear a damn mask. My guest today is a phenomenal singer, songwriter, musician who has a new album out right now called There Be Monsters. I very much recommend picking it up or listening to it wherever you do your music things. The man, the myth, the legend, Andy McFarlane is here, and he is from the band Far Lands. And this was a phenomenal episode, not going to lie, because Andy happens to live in Oregon. And if anybody knows anything about me, they know I love to talk about Oregon. All right? So let's get in this episode, all right? Everybody sit back, relax, and Andy, take it away.
Hey, man. Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I was just settling contractors into some tree work, and I know that you only get one chance to do that right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they were pretty long-winded in instructions, and thankfully so. I think the right trees will be done. The right things will be done to the right trees now. So I appreciate your patience with me.
Yeah, that's no problem. It's always great. When I get a 503 number though.
I saw that, man. Yeah. I was like, yes, that's great. Are you in Portland proper? Are you in the area?
I am unfortunately not. I'm from Salem, but I moved to Texas. Or I moved out of Oregon, I should say, 9 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've regretted it ever since.
What city are you in, Texas?
I'm in San Antonio.
Oh, cool. Nice, man. I hear good
Yeah.
things. I've been through.
Yeah, it's fine to just go through. No, I'm too far gone as a Pacific Northwesterner though.
I feel you,
It's my
man.
fault.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I'm used to seasons. I'm the
Spoiled.
jerk, you
Yeah,
know.
totally. Yeah. I'm actually. Do you know Maupin on the Deschutes River?
I don't.
So if you
Where?
go right on the Deschutes and the lower Deschutes stretch,
Hmm.
straight down from the Dalles, it's right on the. It's basically due south of the Dalles by 45 minutes,
Hmm.
and it's a little stretch of beautiful white water, great rafting, amazing fishing. So that's where I'm here in Maupin halftime, and then I'm back in Portland halftime.
Oh, okay, okay, nice, nice,
Yeah. So
nice.
that's
Yeah, I
that's
didn't make
the
it. I didn't make it too far over there, around the
okay. Got
Dalles.
it.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
was
It's
either, of course, Salem, Portland,
sure.
um, Corvallis, because OSU,
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah.
of course, whatever two Moe's locations we felt like going to. That's where we went.
It's a
Lincoln
really good.
City.
Yeah. Got to get the
Uh,
chowder.
exactly, exactly.
Good chowder.
Everybody listening doesn't know what's going on, or which is fine. I don't care. I don't care. This is Oregon time.
Nice. And have you been in San Antonio since those 9 years? For all of those 9 years since then? Since leaving?
No, no. I lived in Chicago for a
Oh, that's cool.
year, and my mom was
Nice.
telling me that, oh yeah, today was the day that you left for Chicago 7 years ago, and I was just, oh, cool, fun.
Wow. Mark that on your calendar.
Yeah, exactly.
Mothers are amazing timekeepers.
They
Like
are, they are.
timeline keepers. Guardian of the
Exactly,
timeline.
exactly. But yeah,
That's
no.
great, man.
Well, it's funny because you mentioning trees. I was telling my girlfriend we were out in the sticks in San Antonio because it does exist, and
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the trees and I go, those are sad trees, and she's just,
Uh,
what are you talking about? I go, they're so sad. Look how small they are. Like trees should be taller than me. It's just
yeah. Are
if
they just dwarfed by the harsh environment?
probably it's very rare to see a tree like 100 feet in the air, and I'm just
Got
like,
it.
I grew up with that in the front yard,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Totally.
So
Not even thinking twice.
yeah,
Yeah, these are dead black locust trees. So the black
yeah,
locust isn't really suited for. It's such a hard wood.
hmm,
And what I've heard is that they get to a certain height in the dry summers out here because it's the high desert here.
mm,
They lack the ability after a certain time to push the water out to their extremities. So the farthest branches at a point just all die, and they look really ghostly and cool.
hmm.
But the branches are so brittle because it's such hard wood, and then you got fall damage. And I own a
Right,
business out here, so this would not be cool if big winds taking out brittle, hard ass tree branches.
right, right. Yeah, no, I mean at that point, yeah, it makes
It's a sad
sense.
sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad to see him go, but yeah, because shade is such a commodity out here in the desert.
There we go. There we go.
Nice, man. Well, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate you having whatever it is, the curiosity, and the time, I guess, to hop on.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Well, obviously, I'm a fan of creative people, and you are one of those creative people. And but one thing I've been asking individuals, especially during this time that we're all going through the pandemic together,
Yeah.
have you noticed an uptick in your creativity?
So yeah, so I would say most definitely, and I'd
Mm,
say it takes on different forms. I write in the moment,
mm-hmm,
so many of the snippets or pieces that become poems and then songs are either music that comes to me when driving, and I'll grab my phone and put it on voice memos, or a melody that I mishear, or lyrics that I misunderstand, garbled from distance, or in a dream. So a lot of my music does come from waking up and having heard music in a dream, and I'll hum
mm-hmm.
this thing and think that it's an actual song, and then realize over laughter in the morning over coffee, oh shit, I have one on the voice memos, and I'll go back to it, and it'll be a snippet of a song that's either nonsensical or quite cool. Um, so Yeah, man, I would say that most definitely. I would say that in this time during the pandemic, more of that is happening, and I'm doing a lot more with my hands. I've been renovating these old cabins in Maupin. They're old fishing cabins that were brought in on the railroad during the railroad wars and found their resting place along the banks of the Deschutes here. And so I've been slowly making my way with my partner through this property and trying to touch every surface and restore these beautiful old relics. So there's a lot of stories out here, and so I happened to move part-time just before the pandemic, and I had a change in career at that point. So I have a lot more time where I get to dictate what I'm doing, and I'm not on a clock as much as I had been in my previous life. So when these moments come, I have a guitar close to me. All the cabins have a single guitar in them, so I'm able to go to a guitar and rattle something off and record a tidbit. And I'd say also collaboration is different now. So Ivan Howard, who produced the album with me, he's become a dear friend through the first album, and then thereafter he lives in Portland, and we became quick buds for his contribution to the first album, and just a quick friendship. So we recorded the demos for this album well before the pandemic in his home studio. But since then, in the process of refining things and kind of putting the art to the album and creating the way that we do the release and finding video folks to help and collaborate with. And most recently, Ivan and I have been, mostly Ivan, he's been creating a VR world for the album's release. So he got into 3D modeling and has just been loving the idea of VR as a way to get more intimate with an artist, like you would on the liner notes, but take the liner notes and put them on steroids, and you get to walk around in the liner notes.
Yeah.
So he's been making a VR world, and we've been having lots of share screen kind of experiences together, where it looks like it's going to be all ready to go next week for the release. And the VR world is essentially walking around in my cabin on Mount Hood, and it's a complete trippy, ridiculously rendered version of my cabin. So first you run from monsters and you shoot a microphone gun that shoots LPs at them, and you find refuge in the cabin, and it's kind of, you interact with objects to get at audio clips or a poem being read when you pick up the picture of my father. Music can play by standing near this record player. You can actually sift through original music written photographs of the song sheets on this bar that's in there. So yes, man, it's been, I would say, the distance thing has made collaboration play out really differently. I've only seen Ivan twice, standing in his driveway since the pandemic began, and just hanging. But we've been on the phone a ton, and we've been hashing out this thing through a lot of sharing art and sharing photographs. And so yes, man, I would say most definitely. I think there's going to be a period of digestion from what's been, I think, for so many people, a really acute and profound shift, however that's played out. I know so many people that's played out professionally or in relationships. And I would say that there's going to be a digestion and then a processing where I think, I'm not talking about the pandemic in my art. I'm not directly. I'm not. Right. I'm not yet processing it by directly writing about it or singing about it. But I do think it lives in our subconscious, most definitely. And I'm curious what's going to happen in the year or two that follows, because then it's going to be a unit where we'll be out of it and we can look back on it.
Right. And obviously, it's really hard not to talk about it as far as we go, just because it is right now, and it's one of the biggest things that hopefully we'll experience together, because this is not to go that direction, but I feel like Americans had something special as far as 9/11, where we all came together, but this is a global pandemic where now we're all connected in the worst of times, and it's just been really interesting to see how people have been dealing with it, whether it's creating art, fixing themselves, fixing others, fixing causes, just this whole explosion of things that needed to be addressed but weren't able to, simply because people didn't have the time to just sit down and reflect.
I agree. I think it's going to forever change our relationship with time and with temporality. I mean, I think if you've experienced death closely, you get the finite nature of time. If you've experienced, your own life seeming threatened or like being gravely ill and then recovering from that, to know that up close, I think is a wonderful teacher. I mean, we get this rare opportunity when we help someone in their own dying or being intimate with death, of the brevity of life. By experiencing it, you have a different relationship with time. I think because we all experienced in the pandemic a collective threat to not just our own livelihoods and our own lives and thinking about our aging parents and grandparents, and it was a threat to a complicit agreement that style of living was okay.
Right.
And I think it's suspect now. The 40-hour work week with 2 days off for the weekends to finally do some self-care. The whole rush of that version of life. That's a pretty new experiment. I think when I studied anthropology young and got to live in Oaxaca, Mexico for nearly a year, and just got to see a totally different pace of life and a different relationship, a communal way to live, a lot less individualistic. And I'm pretty amazed that, if you think about the Industrial Revolution happening in like the 1870s and like true mechanized work being a really relatively new thing that people are kind of subject to, but we're born into it because that is 3 generations or 4 generations or 5 generations back now,
Right.
But I think what the pandemic's given us is a chance to pause. And, I think you're spot on when you talk just the use of the word time. It gave us time. It gave us time to think about why we're doing what we're doing. I have numerous friends who are in a totally different spot professionally and relationship-wise than they were at the beginning. And for the better. I mean, I write about it in my music a lot. That song Lowlands is all about finding beauty in the brokenness and finding, I wrote a piece once that talks about the obvious, my free of a fear of heights, like being disemboweled, and it's so obvious to others that your own guts are like an obstacle to your even walking.
Right.
But facing the fact that there's brokenness in everything and in all of us, what a freeing thing, man. I mean, what a freeing thing to realize that we all have brokenness and that let's let that shit out and talk about it. And the other thing I think that's come out of it is that, I mean, I'm not a millennial, and I feel lucky that hopping on the phone isn't a weird thing because, I mean, people that are slightly, my friends that are younger, we text and I'm like, I just call them. It's just like out of the blue. They're like, oh shit, Andy's calling again. It's like, I don't want to write this shit down.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing that's happened is that whether, in our best moments or worst moments or sober moments or not, my phone's been ringing a lot this year. And I've been having really real conversations with people, and that's part of the therapy that we're all needing, and it's a new kind of connectedness that we're all needing.
I completely agree. But being a millennial, I will still text. But I'm not afraid to dial my phone. I really am not. Doing the podcast, I call people and I'm just like, yeah, I'll give you a call or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not at the Snapchat level. I don't get texting through Snapchat. What's the point? Send me a text message. Don't Snapchat me. Whatever. And I don't get TikTok. I don't get that. That's fine. Whatever. Anyway. But you hit on a lot of great points, and I'm just kind of wondering, as far as the new album goes, was that How far were you into mixing the album before COVID happened? Was it all recorded and done? Or just,
Yes.
what it was? Okay.
Yeah, it was fully done.
Mm.
The what I would say that it was less COVID than it was the Black Lives Matter movement and the shift in consciousness and the needed shift in attention towards the injustice and inequity that so many people suffer in our society that made me push pause. And it wasn't necessarily, people are not working and people are not going to concerts and all the, direct results of the pandemic. It was so much more, mine is not the story that's important right now.
Right.
The album is a story of, there's a lot of stories in the album, but most of it's around continuing to fight for truth in your own heart and ask for what you want and believe in love again. Maybe that's close to some of the themes in the album. And it's a more hopeful album. I think the first album, there were a lot less words on it. I wasn't singing I wasn't embracing the art of singing so much in the first album. It was a lot more whispery and storytelling, I think. And that lent itself more to the themes on the first album. But yes, to your question, the album was totally done. It could have been released at any point going back a year and a half, I would say. And I don't have a timekeeper that I don't know my own timeline very well. to your point earlier about 7 years since your move, I'd have to look in photos and see where I was and if I screenshot it something to send to somebody. But anyway, yeah. So it was quite ready, but it didn't feel right. It felt like we needed to experience the actual world, and that new art and asking for people's attention just didn't quite settle with me until.
Right.
And I had friends that were, people that took part in it. We had probably 12 or 14 people contributed to the album. And I'd have people reach out, man, when are we doing this thing? Are you going to put some singles out soon? Or what are we doing? And I just kind of kept patient, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
I feel like it was right. And I feel much more confident in it now. And it's also the same way, we'll be reflecting back on this year and life before COVID. These albums live as wonderful chapters in a book, So I can look back on the "Oh What an Honor, Oh What a Drag" album and just instantly be transported back to the life experience that went into that and all and in the recording. And so there are phases in that. Same is true with There Be Monsters. It's already looking like an entity in the past, although to share it with people to be new for everybody. So that's kind of the fun part of actually releasing music and not just sitting on it in journals and voice memos like I did for the first 10 to 12 years of making art.
As far as your music goes, all the way back to when you first started, is there ever a piece of music that you wrote that you're just, I don't really know who that guy was anymore. Kind of like the opposite effect of, I remember being there. But when you hear the song, I'm just like, I don't know why I felt that way or anything like that. Is there a little bit of a disconnect?
Good question, man. Only if I think back to more funny theatrical stuff that I did in the 90s. Where anything that brushes against a dub or hip hop that I made, I look back and I'm like, wow, those are clearly the influences of growing up in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And that music was prevalent in my, in my circle. And there were MCs and DJs, and I feel that was a sweet scene in Cincinnati. But yeah, I would say that only the stuff that doesn't necessarily come from more the roots of growing up on more folk music and Ween and some of those influences that feel more proximal to my life now.
When did you find those influences? If you don't, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. Yeah, of course. So Ween, actually, I'm a pretty big Ween super fan, especially the first 3 or 4 albums in my middle school years. When it was coming out, Pure Guava era, and then up through the Pod and God, We and Satan. I got to meet them because my cousin home produced VHS, actually at a Grand Rapids public access station. We made a video for the Stallion Part 3, and we all acted in it. And I got to give it to Ween backstage, and it was awesome at Bogart's in Cincinnati. And so my birthday was just a couple weeks back, and my brother actually got Dean Ween to do a cameo for me.
Oh, there you go.
And
there
it was super cool. And he like, whether it's true or not, he's like, I vaguely remember giving me I think maybe, man. I'd have to know more. It was sweet. It was like a 2.5-minute cameo. It was great. But the influences that, the other influences would be like Joan Armatrading is a huge influence from my dad. I don't know if you know her work. I just love her. Then, I grew up on Leonard Cohen and Joni Mitchell and Bob Dylan hugely. And my dad was a singer of their songs. He had a ton of songs memorized. My brother always has written music, and he's a great musician. I was in a band that did like the Battle of the Bands in Cincinnati, and it was like an 8-piece band. That's more when you say, what are some songs that I don't relate to? I was writing from character, like there's a song about like an interrogation, and it's called Tough Room. I know I'll be leaving soon from this tough room. And so it's like, that was fun, but that's a 16-year-old boy, having fantasies of. So I don't write from that perspective anymore at all.
Nice. Well, I mean, look, I'm just saying that for the next album, Tough Room, could make a comeback. I don't know, an updated version. You've lived life now, obviously, so maybe you can put a spin on it.
Maybe we'll have to, and not like a reggae inflection on the voice, pretty please.
Yeah, why not? It's your song. You can do whatever you want. No.
Totally, man.
I've always been, I've been thinking about this a lot this week. Is just, obviously when you're a kid, you're influenced by what is around you, and I've always just felt like that influences your music choice. And then as you get older, obviously you find what you like, what you're comfortable with, and of course there's always the guilty pleasure music. Totally. But it's just fascinating to me when, obviously, and I always say not to brag, but I listen to a ton of music. If I'm not talking to anybody, I'm listening to music because that's just what I do. And it's always so weird to me, and no judgment to anybody, when they find their era, they find their band, they find their person, and that's it. They lock down. This is where
I cannot relate to that either.
I'm just like, but you're cutting yourself off from music that you could like. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
So and that's why I'm just always curious when, who people listen to, because then I'll go out and research, whatever.
Yeah. What's your current guilty pleasure? What are you musically? Can you confess that on the listeners now?
I have no problem confessing it. I mean, obviously, when I was younger, I would say in my early teen years, it was all about Limp Bizkit, and I can sing through rap through Limp Bizkit, and I actually have a lot of respect towards Fred Durst.
Man.
But recently, just a way to go back to my high school era. I've been listening to a lot of emo music. What was it? A lot of early, what's that, Jumpsuit Apparatus? Like just bands like Hawthorne Heights, just like bands like that.
Cool.
That just transport me back to the days of when I would wear a black button-down shirt, black pants, towel wrist strap things. I don't know what those like. I don't know, because I don't know why. And
just
then
oddly festooned.
Yeah, exactly. And just being like, emo, which I wasn't. I just wore all black because why not? But
Did your parents worry about you in that phase?
Oh no, not at all. And it was funny because at one point I did grow my hair out as well. And my parents were always like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. But It was also because I play the drums, and it was that.
Oh man, you got to have hair for drumming.
Exactly,
man.
You had to have hair. You had to look the
you
part.
You better be throwing that head around, man.
Especially yes, and especially going to school and doing battle the band. You said you did battle bands with 8 people. I did it with 3, and the other band we played against was half of Portugal the Man. So it was
no
just
shit. Oh, cool.
Yes,
those guys are Portlanders.
Exact. At one point, I knew half
now,
of the
right?
band. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
I bet we have some people in common if you know those guys.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we do. Well, and plus, I used to stay pretty connected to the Portland scene, but after I moved, it was weird how I found the Portland scene after it was all after I left, and I feel bad because there's so many bands that, oh man, I wish I could have seen or
oh man,
been there.
I know there was a sweet '90s moment in Portland. I happened to be in either New Mexico, or southeastern Ohio for most of that era that I look back on longingly. I was speaking of the Portland music scene. My 15-year-old daughter has the coolest music taste, and I get digging into her playlist. And anytime I hear her playing, I'm like, send me that playlist. And she's been. It's cool right now because she's really into like music that I just love. Like she's got a bunch of Tribe Called Quest on one of her most recent mixes. Stuff I was De La Soul's on it, but she was really digging Elliott Smith, and Elliott Smith's drummer, one of his drummers that mostly did the XO work and some other things, is Paulie's the drummer for Farlands. And I think that Ava, I think she knew that at some point, but it was the coolest moment where we're listening to Elliott Smith, and now it matters because I was like, because she really loves it and she's really connecting lyrically with it, and I think just mood-wise with it. And I was like, this is Paulie, and she's met him before. She's like, no shit, like totally shocked. It was like a sweet cred moment between dad and 15-year-old daughter, and I could see her eyes. Go, oh my god, your friends might actually be cool, Dad.
Why aren't you?
Yeah, what happened?
Thanks a lot. You're grounded?
Exactly.
I don't know.
And why are you growing your hair out, Dad? Speaking of growing hair out.
It's not a phase.
Not a phase, no. This is how I was intended.
There we go. But for the people at home who would like to check out the album, do experience that awesome the VR experience, all that good stuff, or just follow it online. Where can they do all that?
Yeah, so I would say the Get Loud Recordings is the record label. So you can go to getloudrecordings.com or check out the far.lands on Instagram. We'll kind of keep it fresh and announcing all the good things there. The VR world will be downloadable through the Oculus Quest realm, and I don't know as much about that, but we'll do a walkthrough on YouTube and kind of reveal some of the Easter eggs hidden throughout this little VR world. As for the whole album, it'll be on all the streaming services on the 30th, and our new track "Oh Molly" comes out this Friday.
Nice,
so that'll be up and out, and that's the third and final single that's coming out, and then another video will be coming out shortly on the heels of that for "Live With Me."
Nice. And I had the chance to listen to the album. I listened to it a while ago, and then just to refresh myself, I listened to it this morning. And
cool.
I think it's great, and I think you're doing some good work. For sure, I can't wait to hear that Investigator revival song from your old school days.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great one. Yeah.
I'm looking forward towards that. I can't wait to experience that in VR, its own thing.
In VR too, you're gonna be sweating. It's gonna be heavy.
No, but I enjoyed the album, and
thank you, man. I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. And anytime you want to come back on and just shoot the shit, I'd be happy to do that again with you.
I'd love it. Yeah, anytime, man. It goes both ways. Reach out anytime my way.
Oh, absolutely. But I'll let you go. I know you're busy feller. I'll let you go. But continue to stay safe and healthy, and yeah, just have a good rest of your day. All right.
I appreciate it, man. Really nice talking.
Yeah, you too. You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.